So Shogun has made his appearance. Hello there everybody, I'm Saban92 aka Nightmare, and it looks like our main character has finally met Shogun. And he is a wrinkly, child-sized old man. You know, it's funny, with the way the music's playing right now, it's almost incredibly atmospheric. I got the lights off, I got this music playing, and there is some thunder rolling outside my house. I don't know if the mic is picking that up, but we got some thunder out here. Incredibly atmospheric. Now let's ruin it with the adventures of a weird pervert. Seiratan was calling me. Last night's episode of Blood Tune was awesome. Seiratan played a huge part in it, and there was a super hot kiss scene. The animation quality was practically movie tier too. Uh-huh. Seiratan was calling me. Plus, she was saying such moe things that I couldn't not wake up. I tore the blanket off my body and got up from the sofa with a groan. You know, normal people just have music set as their ringtone for waking up. I mean, hell, I got Golden Slaughterer playing as my wake-up tone, which now that I think about it out of context, that sounds kind of bad. Never mind, shut up. Cut that out. The moment I turned off my alarm clock, the voice of Seiratan that had been echoing throughout the room disappeared.
Ohayo, Seira.
The Seira alarm clock I had was very useful. If I didn't turn it off, the volume would slowly get louder and louder, and if I still didn't get up, an obnoxious buzzer sound would ring out. I wanted it to be Seiratan who woke me up in the morning, so I made it a point to wake up and turn it off before the buzzer. I'd only failed to do so once or twice so far. After all, being woken up by Seiratan was a great way to start the day. Waking up was the absolute worst. I'd played Vidya until dawn, and the couch had been extremely uncomfortable once I actually had gone to sleep. But having her to wake me up helped alleviate some of that pain. Today was a school day. I'd skipped a day last week, so my minimum attendance chart was really starting to fall apart. With the chart, I was only slated to go twice this week, but because of that deviation, I was stuck having to go 3 times instead. I didn't want to go, but it'd be much worse if I didn't. If I missed any more days, I wouldn't be able to graduate. Then again, whether or not I graduated made no difference to me, to be honest. Just a moment ago, I'd been having a dream with Remy in it. It was a strange dream. One that felt terribly wistful. One that felt terribly lonesome. One that felt terribly sad. And one that felt terribly distant. Would Remy come to school today? I'd been thinking about the day before yesterday constantly. I'd been thinking about it so often that I'd even forgotten to play ESO yesterday. There had been the appearance of Shogun, and the delusion where every person in Shibuya disappeared, but I was barely given either of those things any thought. It had to have just been a delusion of mine. There was no way Shogun could be such an old man, and the idea of people just disappearing from Shibuya or whatever was completely ridiculous, so there was no point worrying about it. It had been a horribly realistic delusion, sure, but the fact that I'd allowed myself to fall for something so unrealistic so easily and get all freaked out about it was just embarrassing. But regardless, above all else, I was thinking about Remy, the girl I'd been calling the demon girl until only a couple days ago. Most of what I'd felt back then was shaky and surreal, as if it were some sort of dream. But I could still vividly remember the sensation of Rimi's body embracing my own. Don't make it weird. If she hadn't done that, I could have gone insane and lost myself completely. Why had Rimi saved me? Maybe because we really were friends. I didn't have any memories of us being classmates now, let alone first year. Nor did I remember going to the movies with her along with Misumi-kun. But the way she treated me was definitely how you treat a real close friend. She'd even seemed like she'd been close to crying when she held me. I don't trust her. That, at the very least, I didn't think was an act. That was the first time I'd ever seen a girl care about, let alone cry over an otaku freak like me. When she treated me like that, all of my fears and suspicions were blown away in an instant. In fact, it made me feel like I might fall in love with her. No, I obviously couldn't let myself do that. Confusion invaded every corner of my mind. How was I supposed to act around Rimi from now on? Was Rimi my ally or my enemy? Was Rimi the new gen culprit? She'd saved me. That was an undeniable fact. But it was just as much of a fact that I had seen her standing still as could be at the scene of the crucifixion, covered in blood. See, now because of the reveal that we got whenever they actually examined the crime scene and there was no blood, I am heavily leaning that was a delusion. He saw the body, and for some reason, if Rimi really was his friend for this whole time, and he had somehow forgotten about her, he probably had an actual delusion where he saw her there instead. Though the reason as to why, I'm not entirely sure. On my way to school, I stopped by Shoto Park. After what happened with Yua, I'd put a stop to my habit of eating breakfast there before going to school. There was no way I could feel even remotely relaxed when I thought that Yua could be watching me from anywhere. And even if I ignored that, if she came up to talk to me, she would start going off about her irritating, delusional, schizo bullshit all over again. I didn't want anything to do with a girl like her. Man, Yua really had a fucked up effect on him. Good God. Yua was Rimi's underling. Sure, my original guess may have been incorrect, but that didn't mean that Yua wasn't my enemy. It was still possible that Shogun was the boss of the whole thing, and Yua was one of his underlings. Either way, I knew I'd be better off staying as far away from her as I could. And yet, I found myself coming here today for some reason. I examined my surroundings carefully to make sure that I couldn't see Yua anywhere, and once I knew the coast was clear, I slowly sat down on my usual bench. I took a bite of the chocolate bread that I just bought from the convenience store, then looked out at the pond. There was next to no wind, and the surface of the water was calm and serene. I could see the occasional shadows of carp-esque fish gliding through the murky water. The park was unusually empty today. It was a very quiet spot. As my gaze wandered across the park, I couldn't help but think about Rimi. To be honest, I'd been dreading going to school today. I knew I'd have to face her if I did. That was the real reason I was stalling at the park. I felt like I'd said a lot of awful things to her. And yet, the smile on her face never faltered, and she always treated me like I was a close friend. And I was sure that when I went to school today, she would keep on doing that as if nothing had even happened. She'd smile and talk to me like we were friends, pretending that she didn't even care at all about what had happened in front of 107. It was hard to put into words, but I felt a bit annoyed by her constant cheerfulness, yet at the same time, I also ended up feeling more cheerful myself when I was with her. I wasn't sure how to act once I did run into her. It was true that I didn't think she was a demon anymore. Hey, that's progress. But honestly, I didn't think of her as a friend either. Misumi-kun had said that she and I had been really close classmates for the past year and a half, but I didn't remember anything like that at all. Maybe it really was because of the person controlling me. But making my memories of Rimi, and only Rimi, disappear with pinpoint accuracy like that? There was no way that was possible. Upon entering the school building, I lowered my head even farther toward the ground. As was my usual MO, I kept close to the wall and walked slowly toward the staircase. My class was on the 3rd floor. Getting up there was a pretty big hassle. It could really use an escalator or something. An escalator in a fucking school? When I reached the foot of the staircase, I spotted a girl climbing unsteadily up the stairs. Oh, hey, you're the new girl. What was your name? She was dragging her right leg a little as she walked. Maybe she twisted it? Her petite body swayed from side to side. She looked extremely unstable. As other students passed by her one after the other, the girl slowly continued to climb, exactly one step at a time. Maybe it's that heavy thing that she's probably lugging, the thing that we saw for a split second. Watching her from below, I'd be able to see her panties in a second now. Hey! Oh, shit! If I kept this up, I'd be labeled a total pervert. Last thing I needed was to go in front of a mirror and see myself as... Oh. Well, I didn't see that coming. Last thing I needed was to go in front of a mirror and see myself as Bill Clinton or some shit. With that thought in mind, I stepped onto the stairs in order to pass the girl, but right when I did... The girl caught the tip of her shoe on one of the steps and she immediately staggered. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, she fucked up her knee. She then fell down so hard you could almost feel the crash sound effect. Fortunately, she ended up falling on the landing, so she hadn't fallen down the entire staircase. She was still down on her knees from the pain, though, and was staying pretty still. Could this be a flag? Yeah, no way. Even if it was, calling out to her anything remotely similar would be impossible for me. So I hurriedly slipped past her. Oh my god, dude! Sorry, but you should get someone womanizer who's actually into 3D to help you. Someone like Misumi could— Oh my god! You really shouldn't rely on me. Go fucking back there and help her! But the girl was staying curled up on the ground so motionlessly, I started to get a little worried. I was halfway up the stairs when I slowly turned back around to check on her. The girl was gripping onto the railing and trying her absolute hardest to stand back up. Her knees were trembling. She looked like a newborn fawn or something. Her knee was oozing blood. Maybe she'd scraped it.
Huh?
Her face. I'd seen it before. Wasn't she the girl who transferred into my class last week? What was her name again? I couldn't remember. You, me too. Oh, wow, she was crying. Did it hurt that badly? The fall had definitely been pretty bad, but not bad enough that she'd cry from it. She's bleeding! There was nobody else willing to lend her a hand. After just barely managing to stand up, she bent forward and peered down at her knee. She must have been checking to see if she'd hurt it. Yeah. The transfer student wiped away her tears, set down her bag on the spot, and started rummaging around inside it. What's she looking for, I wondered. Suddenly, she raised her hand above her head in a triumphant manner. Clasped in her hand was a Band-Aid. Our eyes met. The transfer student went red in surprise soon after, then hung her head. Regardless, she looked like she was okay, so I was sure she'd be fine without me. Wow, fuck you. God damn it, dude. Fucking hell, man. Thinking that, I hurriedly made my way to class. Okay, it is not easy going through the eyes of an antisocial character. Holy shit. God bless it. As per usual, I kept my head down and fixed my gaze, and my gaze fixed on my toes. And while still remaining silent, I took my seat. When I sat down, I remembered that the transfer student had said something to me on the day she'd transferred. I'm so happy we're in the same class or something. I'd forgotten all about it after everything with Remy, but I wondered what she meant by that.
Yo, Taku.
Hey, Battler. Still, according to routine, Misumi called out to me. Maybe he didn't have any other friends besides me. He'd always talk to me and no one else, so I was starting to genuinely suspect that.
聞いてくれよ。昨日さ、怪しいおっさん2人が校長室に入ってくのを見たんだ。
Sketchy old dudes?
で、俺とリミトでこっそり盗み聞きしてみたらびっくりしたぜ。その2人、刑事だったんだぜ。
Oh, the detectives are here. They're probably asking about me.
え？
Detectives?
なんか深刻そうに全校生徒の名簿とか見ててよ。
Oh, fuck.
もしかしてニュージェネと関係あんのかな？
Yes? Maybe. The true new gen culprit was someone at this very school. I couldn't help it, but a face popped into my mind. Remy's.
なあ、盗み聞きしてたら見事にバレちゃったんだけどね。
Oh, hey, Remy. I jumped. Speak of the devil, Jesus Christ! I felt my heart rate leap when I heard Remy's voice invade the conversation. I couldn't look up. I was too nervous, but this is a completely different kind of nervousness than last week's.
あれはお前がドア勝手に開けたせいだぞ。分かってんのか？
しょうがないでしょ。本物の刑事さんって見るの初めてだったからちょっと興奮しちゃってつい。
Smooth. Real smooth.
何をどうやったらついドアを開けるんだよ。
Good question. How do you do that? How? You know what? Never mind. I guess it's me like partially open, but sorry, that's just good job. People would notice.
おかげで俺らまで刑事から話を聞かれる羽目になったんだからな。
大臣ってば刑事さんに聞かれちゃまずいことでもあったの？
About how many girls he's been with? Yeah.
そういうお前はどうなんだ？
That or his internet search history.
さあね。
Misumi-kun and Remy were having a conversation with my desk sandwiched in between them. They were completely ignoring my existence. But to be honest, I felt I was grateful for that. Even if Remy did talk to me, I didn't have any faith that I'd be able to say anything back. I was hoping that the bell would ring before they got the chance to say anything to me, but when I glanced at the clock, I saw that there were still about 5 minutes until class started.
そういやタク、ここに来る途中で梢ちゃん見なかったか？
Oh, her name was Kozue? Kozue-chan? Who?
ああ、そっか。どうせお前のことだから覚えてねえとは思ったけど、マジでそうだったんだな。先週転校してきた子のことだよ。折原梢ちゃん。
Right, Orihara Kozue. Kozue, Orihara Kozue. Orihara Kozue. Oh, so that was her name. Orihara Kozue.
階段で階段？見た。お、そっか。じゃあもうすぐ来るな。
There he goes. Misumi-kun's voice gave off an aura of intense enthusiasm. I hadn't seen him this energetic since a few days ago when he found out that FES was from the next class over. In other words, I'd never seen him give his all for anything except girls. Which reminded me that just last week, Misumi-kun had already gone to hit on the transfer student the moment she'd arrived. You really are incorrigible. You've got a girlfriend and everything. I hope you're real proud.
なあ、梢ちゃんってマジ可愛いと思わね
え? He asked me something I had trouble answering. I moved my head down ambiguously, which he apparently took as a yes.
太郎俺一目で気に入っちまったよ。なんか守ってやりたくなるんだよな。
Wonder how many times he said that to a random ass girl.
男子みんなも同じ意見だよ。どいつも可愛いって言ってんだ。けどよ、女子の間じゃあんま評判良くねえんだよな。
Really? Oh man, this is just fucking school environment. All the guys like her, so immediately that just paints a target on her for all the girls to pester her or just, I don't know.
まだ転校してきたばっかだぜ。それなのに早くもうざいみてえな意見まで出てきてんだよ。
Well, that's just because they're stuck up and probably just too bitchy.
このクラスの女子って性格悪いやつ多すぎだ。
That's something that I can kind of agree with you on if they're immediately judging a girl that just transferred.
それって大臣のせいじゃないの？
Yeah, maybe.
だいたいそのうざいって言ったのどうせ大臣の彼女でしょ？
Oh, it's his girlfriend. Oh.
ああ、そうだけど。
そりゃあ彼女にしてみればうざいに決まってるよ。自分の彼氏が目の前で折原さんを口説きに行っちゃってたらさ。
Huh. I mean, I'm not even gonna touch that.
私でさえよく喧嘩売られるんだから。大輔君に近寄らないでって。しかも一人じゃなくて何人かから言われた。
Oh, so it's his girlfriend that's potentially spreading rumors because he's already trying to put the moves on her. And she's like seeing the new girl as like competition. I'm sorry, to Masumi-kun's girlfriend, run the hell away. Masumi will never treat you right. He is a problematic person who one day is probably gonna get his dick chopped off.
マジ？
Yeah, I'm dead serious, Masumi.
自覚なしか。少しは反省したら？
いやー、モテる男は辛いぜ。
Oh my god.
これだよ。さすが女の敵。もう私フォローしてあげないからね。
Oh, please don't cover for him. I want to see him get beat the shit out of faster than Joker on the harem ending.
あ、折原さん来た。
なんか怪我してるみたいじゃね？
Yeah, she fell.
本当だ。どうしたんだろう。
She'd gotten hurt back when I saw her on the stairs. I obviously wasn't going to tell them that, though. I was trying to avoid talking to Rimi in any way possible.
俺、ちょっと行ってくれ。
Masumi-kun ran up to where the transfer student was. Thanks to that, Rimi was the only one left standing close to my desk. Ah, Masumi-kun, please don't go! Oh! Delusion. Interesting place for a delusion to suddenly occur. Actually, I just had a thought I just had a weird thought concerning Takumi. What if I do an entire... What if I stop indulging his fantasies? Now, hear me out. Let me give you my reasoning about this. Okay, partially it may have some reason to do with some of the weirder ones, but there are some interesting delusions that did happen. But here's my thought process. My desire is for Takumi to become a better, healthier person. I legitimately want him to be better. Like, actually try to step outside of his comfort zone, become a little bit more social, become, well, escape his unhealthy obsessions. And what if one of the ways to do that is to not give in to any of his delusions whenever the opportunity arises itself? Which brings up another thought process, which makes me wonder if, like, literally one of the routes... I don't know how many routes are in this novel, because usually almost every visual novel has a route that's going to be taken. So I don't know how many routes there are, but what if one of them is you do not give in to a single delusion that pops up? And what if, whenever you do that, ironically you start seeing the delusions less and less as the story goes on? And then all of a sudden the main character kind of realizes that he hasn't had a delusion in a while, probably because he's in a better mental headspace. And maybe, just maybe, he gets away from Sarah. Just a thought process. Just a thought that I had. Okay, all right. Let's see what the green one does here. It can't be that bad. Remy didn't say anything, but she didn't move away from my seat either. Considering the fact that I was hunched over so far on my desk that I could nearly sink my teeth into it, I couldn't see her expression. All I could see was her waist. But if that were true, then that would mean she would be facing me. In other words, she was looking at me. Alright, here we go. I should work up some courage and act natural.
おはよう、咲畑さん。
Oh. Alright. First contact went well. But just when I started to feel relieved, Remy tilted her head to the side with a frown.
ねえタク、なんで急に妙ちくりんな呼び方するの？
All weird?
妙ちくりん。
Well, first off, you never talked to me in the first place, so it is kind of weird that you're actually talking to me. Therefore, you're talking to me weird.
咲畑さんなんてなんだか他人行儀。
Okay.
今までみたいに呼んでよ。
Like I normally did. But I didn't even know what that was.
じゃあ、リミ。
お、なんだいタク。
いや、特に何もないけど。
This is actually kind of starting off okay.
じゃあ私から一言。
What? Remy cleared her throat, looked around the room, and then brought her face close to mine.
タクは大地みたいになっちゃダメだよ。
Good advice that I will absolutely uphold.
ああいう女たらしはいつかひどい目に遭うに決まってるから。
I know, that's what I was saying. I kind of want to see him get the crap kicked out of him.
あ、うん。肝に銘じておくよ。
うんうん。タクのそういう素直なところ、私好きだな。
She liked something about me? Huh. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It is really fucking weird watching her do one blinking eye while her other's like purposefully closed. That is really fucking weird. In other words, from Remy's POV, was I the honest, neutral character archetype?
そもそも私、大地のことで一つだけどうしても許せないことがあるんだよね。
How he plays with women's hearts. How he shamelessly skirt chases. How he has no shame.
あれだけあちこちの女子に声かけてるのに、私には全く見向きもしないってこと。
Huh?
ひどいと思わない？
Why would you care about... You literally just complained about him!
え、三角くんに口説かれたいの？
Do you? I guess that wasn't surprising. He was a total alpha in terms of looks, and he was fun to talk to. He's more of a beta. Even if you stuck him with a penalty for being a playboy, he'd probably still be the type any girl would like to go out with. But despite what I thought she was talking about, Remy frowned and shook her head.
ったく冗談きついよ。大地に口説かれるなんて想像しただけで鳥肌立っちゃう。
Okay. She wrapped her arms around herself and made a big show out of pretending to shiver.
私はノーサンキュー。
Understandable.
でもなんていうのかな、女としてのプライドっていうものがあるわけじゃない？ね
Pride as a girl. Huh.
え、タクから見て私ってどう？魅力ある？
Eh. I don't know. Not my type, I'll say that much. You're asking me something that's real hard to answer.
どう？
And it didn't help that her eyes were twinkling and she was clearly bursting with anticipation. That's, of course I thought she was attractive, but it did take a lot of courage to say it out loud. And my courage is still at rank 1 right now.
み？ 認めたくないものだな。
No one likes to admit to the... Oh, that's a tip? What's that all about? An actual new tip here? What that? Short for the full quote. No one likes to admit to them, to the mistakes they've made because of their youth. A quotation from an extremely popular mecha anime series, often followed up with various lines about youth, such as, "That's what it is to be young." Oh. Okay.
若さゆえの過ちというものを。あ、
引っかかった。
Rimi smiled triumphantly. Was she actually an otaku? There was no way! I smiled a bitter smile in defeat. But, even though the conversation was completely normal, I found myself having a lot of fun. Up until now, I'd almost never had this kind of conversation with a girl before. I didn't know why, but I felt like we clicked pretty well together. Which is why I was able to say what came next so naturally.
リミは魅力的だよ。
That is the most calm thing I think I've heard him ever say. And it's a delusion. Rimi exaggeratedly threw her head backwards and her face instantly turned beet red.
面と向かって言われると恥ずかしい。でもありがとう。タクにそう言ってもらえるとすごく嬉しい。
If this turns out to be just rather tame and actually good, can we have him just actually having positive delusions?
大地に口説かれるより1億兆倍嬉しい。
1億兆なんて桁はないけど。
We can make up the number!
なんとなくニュアンスで分かってよ。それだけスケールの大きい嬉しさってこと。
The happiness scale. See, that was a help. That was actually not too bad. So that's what it is to be young. If only I could have that kind of conversation daily. Every day of my life would be fun and fulfilling, and how I saw the world would change completely. But I bet you because we had that delusion, we missed out on Misumi, like... Well, I would hope he would control his fucking hormones enough to where he could actually make sure that a girl is okay before he suddenly just tries to start humping the leg. But at the end of the day, that was just an illusion. The me in reality couldn't make eye contact with Rimi. I just kept my head down, didn't move, and stayed silent. I despised my own cowardice. And so I was hit with a fierce wave of depression.
タク？
Rimi, who had been silent the entire time, finally called out to me, albeit hesitantly. But I couldn't respond due to how sudden it was. To her, it probably felt like I was ignoring her. In my head, I knew I couldn't keep acting like this, but in the end, I still couldn't get myself to do anything.
大丈夫？
No! This time I nodded frantically. It probably made me look pretty suspicious.
そう。だったらいいんだ。
Rimi's voice was gentle, I could hardly believe it, but she seemed like she was going to continue patiently being with me, even though I was being silent. "Are you okay?" was what she'd said. I felt the sudden urge to ask her something. I wanted to ask, back when we met in front of 107, what did it look like to you? Considering the fact that she hadn't mentioned anything in particular, it seemed like she didn't know anything about the people temporarily disappearing from the streets of Shibuya, nor anything about the wheelchair-bound shogun. Which would mean it just been one of my delusions after all. That was why I wanted to ask her. But I didn't think I'd be able to look up and do so after all this time. Either way, I couldn't do it today. I couldn't even prepare myself to ask her. So next time then. I'd ask her the very next time I came to school. Yeah, I should probably organize the questions I wanted to ask her before then. Okay. That could be another potential positive step. Like he's trying to make the effort in his own way.
ねえタク、折原さんがこっち来たよ。
The transfer student? Why was she coming over here? Was she going to come down on me for not helping her on the stairs earlier? But she didn't seem like the type of person to do that. You don't even know her! Or maybe she wasn't coming up to me, but she actually wanted Rimi for something. Hello. The transfer student came up to Rimi, then stopped. She didn't say anything. What the hell? As long as Rimi was here, I couldn't raise my head. The transfer student's toes were fidgeting, but she still didn't try to say anything.
折原さん、どうしたの?
For some reason, the new student timidly then placed a single bandage on the edge of my desk. It was a fancy one, with a picture of that weird character Giro Froggy emblazoned on it.
Huh?
Giro Froggy! Was she giving it to me? How do I react? This Orihara Kozue girl was kind of weird. That is kind of weird. Like, who just kind of... How do you react to somebody just casually walking up, places a band-aid on your desk, and says nothing? Unless our character got hurt, somehow. Oh, this shit's awkward. What? Was she crying? Why was she crying? Was it because I didn't say anything? But the transfer student hadn't said anything to me either.
タクは怒ってるわけじゃないと思うよ。
Rimi swooped in to cover for me. Come to think of it, that was a little bit odd. I didn't know next to anything about Rimi, and yet she knew a lot about me.
彼ってあんまり人と目を合わせようとしないの。引っ込み思案ってやつ。
You know, the funny thing is, this is probably one of the only times I can actually relate to Takumi in a little bit. I can't look people in the eye either. It is really hard for me to keep eye contact with people. Ridiculously so. You'll definitely see me holding my head down a lot of the time. Actually, wait a minute. I'm on YouTube. You'll never see my face. Ha!
だからそんなにガチガチに緊張しなくてもね。私にも絆創膏くれるの？ありがとう。
She has given us all band-aids. With that, the transfer student bowed her head deeply to Rimi, and then she sped her way back to her seat. It was almost like she was running away or something.
なんだかよくわかんないんだけど、タク、その絆創膏もらってあげるべきだと思う。
Yeah. Why had she given it to me?
梢ちゃん、無口だよな。
Yeah. She is. I got the feeling Misumi-kun would come back.
転校初日に俺が校内を案内したんだけどよ。
Uh-huh.
うわ早くも手出したんだ。
Immediately.
まだ出してねえっつうの。
Hold on. I haven't done anything yet. You had to add that yet there.
んで、まあ1時間ぐらいかけてあちこち回ったんだけど、もう俺一人で延々と喋り続けたよ。あん時はさすがにちーっと疲れたぜ。
You were the only one talking? I believe it.
しかもすぐ泣きべそかく。
Pretty quick to cry?
そうそう今も急に泣き出したから何が起きたかと思ってあたふたしちゃった。
Huh. I wonder why that is. Maybe she's insanely, like... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe she's an empath? So... maybe not. I don't know.
そんだけピュアなんだよ。
That or she's just scared.
なたく、お前ならわかるだろ。梢ちゃんの仕草一つ一つの可愛さってのがよ。お前流に言うなら萌えってやつだ。
Never say that again.
なんだ、クソでも我慢してんのか。
Oh my god, Misumi! I shook my head from side to side as hard as I could.
たくさっきからちっとも喋ってくれないんだ。
Yeah, that's because you're here. I wasn't ready for that. I never talked to a friend who was also a girl all friendly before. Then again, I'd never had a single female friend before. Not throughout my entire life.
でもさ今折原さんと話してみてなんとなく思ったんだけど。
You were... wait, what kind of feeling?
彼女と話してるとなんだか疲れちゃいそうかもなんて。
I couldn't help but think it kinda wore you out? Wait a minute. You both got worn out? Misumi-kun said he was the only one talking and showing her around, so he got worn out, and now she's saying she feels worn out just by being in her presence. Huh?
女子ってのはマジで同性に対して容赦ねえな。ま、梢ちゃんは俺が守るからいいけどな。
Yeah, you'll protect her until the next hottie comes by, I guess.
ほんの数十秒前に大地も相手するの疲れたって言ってなかった？
I know, that's why I pointed it out.
うっせ。梢ちゃんはタクと同じ匂いがするぜ。ほっとくれって感じ？
Ooh. Ooh, that's interesting. Kozue-chan gives off the same vibes as Taku. Makes me not want to leave him alone if I can help it, you know? Interesting. Huh. Well, her first appearance, she did... Well, not her, I guess her first appearance here, she did give off the same vibe that we are... She was relieved to see us. And now Misumi is kind of like... She's giving off the same vibes as us. So this is... Okay.
それはわかるかも。
So she and I are similar. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. The sound of the bell told me that all classes were done for the day. The second it went off, I packed up my things, got up from my desk, and left the classroom. I couldn't stand the subtle distance I felt between me and Rimi for a second longer, so I wanted to get out of the classroom ASAP. Besides, I also had to stop by Manga Darake today. In the end, I hadn't been able to say a single word to Rimi. I'd had several chances to talk to her, but just like this morning, I'd kept my mouth locked shut the entire time. I might have screwed up by doing that. It would make it even more difficult to talk to her the next time I saw her. I was sinking deeper and deeper into the thick swamp that was trying to figure out how the hell to act around Rimi. Is it her again? Oh!
Oni!
Oh, hey, Nanami. Just as I was about to leave the school building, I was hit with the voice of a certain irritating person. Nanami came running up to me, holding a trash can in her hands. She must have been in the middle of taking it out. Unfortunately for me... Stop calling her that. The bitch had spotted me. I tried to ignore her and speed my way out of there, but just like usual, Nanami refused to let that happen. And the hem of my uniform was pulled tightly from behind.
妹見て逃げるなって何度言えばわかるの？
なんだよ。
なんだよじゃないよ。お兄が逃げるからナナもつい追いかけちゃうんじゃん。
Okay, then don't chase after me if you don't need something!
相変わらず家に電話かけてこないし、まあナナはもう諦めたけど、どうせお兄が真面目に連絡入れてくるとは思えないもんね。
No, he probably will never. Probably. Wow! She actually understood me for once! Then again, I didn't know how she wouldn't, being my sister and all. Even though I had no need in the slightest for a 3D one.
というわけで、これからも定期的にナナがお兄の部屋に様子見に行くから。
Okay.
感謝してよね。
See, Takumi? Here are the ways that you can easily mitigate this problem. Call your family! Damn it, of course it had come to this! I feel like I could somehow be freed from the curse of my obnoxious little sister. Be careful what you wish for. Hell, even though it never happened, I at least deserved some form of compensation for putting up with her. I thought about that kind of thing daily. Well, that was it. This is my chance to put my plan from earlier into action. If I was lucky, it might even work as a modest form of revenge. I checked my surroundings, then I started walking toward the courtyard, signaling for Nanami to follow me.
何？
ちょっと来てくれ。
なんで？なんかあるの？
She was so unbelievably annoying. Was she incapable of following me or something? What a fucking idiot.
ナナミに大事な頼みがある。
え？頼み？お兄が？なのに？
I know, right? Nanami's eyes went wide.
珍しいじゃん。お兄が頼み事なんて。
とにかく黙ってついてこいって。
あ、ちょっと待ってよ。
Alright. There weren't many people in the courtyard. During lunchtime, the place was always crowded with students eating lunch, but the only people who'd ever bother coming here after school were from the gardening club or whatever.
で、頼みって？
Nanami lowered the trash can she was carrying to the ground, then gave a big grin as she puffed out her chest.
あ、条件はマクで汚りね。その条件飲んでくれるんなら、本当は嫌だけど、お兄の頼み聞いてあげる。
Okay, I'll take you to McDonald's. Oh, every little goddamn thing she did pissed me off. I couldn't believe she actually wanted me to pay her back for this. Didn't help that I'd already treated her to McDonald's before, too, but forget it.
わかった。おごる。
え、本当？今日のお兄、いつもと違うね。
Not really. Well, yeah, because I was lying. So as for being a liar. What? What does that mean? SOZ. Net slang, short for sorry. Often used in conjunction with LOL or other common net slang, e.g. free SOZ lol. Although it is indeed an apology, it is often used in order to tease or provoke the other party instead. Oh, so it's a trolley kind of apology. Okay. And with that, I handed Nanami my cell phone. I then asked her to call the prank caller whose number was stored in my call history. Oh, you bitch! Oh, you're gonna get her wrapped up in this now?
着歴の番号にかける？相手は誰？
ネットの知り合い。
Nanami was tilting her head with a suspicious expression on her face, so I quickly told a lie that would seem plausible to her.
どうして7がかけるの？
かければわかる。
なんか企んでない？
Yes. Yes, he is. Oh my god, shut the fuck up! All you have to do is just shut up and do what I say! If you can't even do that, then just go home. I have no use for you!
じゃあもうお前には頼まない。
I went to snatch back the cell phone, but Nanami pulled her hand back, evading me.
あ、わかったってかけるよ。かければいいんでしょ？
Oh my god, please don't be bad.
ほんとわがままなお兄だな。
Selfish, narcissistic. Feel free to throw out a couple extra terms. Yeah, you should talk! Choking back my anger, I watched with bated breath as Nanami dialed the number in question. Nanami, blissfully unaware, put the cell phone to her ear and waited for them to answer. I noticed that on the hand she was holding the cell phone with, she was wearing a yellow bangle. That was the one I'd given her, wasn't it? Then again, it was more something she just decided to appropriate rather than me actually giving it to her. She even wore it when she went to school? Did she really like it that much? Even though it was just some cheap-ass bangle I'd gotten for free? You're her brother, and you gave her a gift. In her mind, that's something that can really be considered precious. You legitimately have no idea what something as small as that can do for someone, especially a sibling. Nami really did have no taste at all. Not that I could really speak for anyone else, though. This didn't matter at all right now. Anyway, who's gonna answer the phone? Would be some crazy, scary, DQN piece of garbage? Best case scenario, it'd just be a prank and had nothing to do with Shogun or Yua.
あ、もしもし。
Someone must have picked up, so Nanami called out as she covered the receiver with her hand. Only to raise her eyebrows soon after. She then thrust the phone back in my direction.
お兄。
Huh?
なんだ。
なんだじゃないよ。現在使われてませんって言ってるよ。
Oh, okay, good. It's saying the number's not in use. Okay. Oh, I was expecting the worst.
え？
I snatched the phone from Nanami and put it to my ear, and what I heard was...
おかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。番号をご確認の上、もう一度おかけ直しください。
She was right. I guess that meant it really had been a prank. Huh. It was a prank where you called a bunch of random numbers simultaneously over a couple of days, and when the prank was over, both the number and the phone were destroyed, or something like that. Either way, it was a pretty large-scale prank. It didn't really matter to me either way. I knew now that the mysterious call had been nothing more than a prank, and nothing else mattered anymore.
ねえ、一体何なの？
もうお前用なし。
Leaving Nanami standing there, I started to walk off, but it didn't take long for her to chase after me.
どういうことか説明してよ。
Just shut up already.
お前掃除中だろ。ゴミ箱置きっぱなしだぞ。
You're a terrible brother.
あ、
As a brother, I do not accept you amongst our kind. You suck.
でも説明聞いてないもん。
僕は帰る。
Without dealing with Nanami, I walked quickly to the school gate with her right on my tail.
お兄、じゃあマクディおごる約束だからね。ちゃんと覚えといてよ。
知るか。
ちょっと嘘ついたの？
Apparently.
まあな。
Nanami stopped dead in her tracks, looking pretty upset. But I kept right on moving.
お兄のバカ。
She yelled out in a voice loud enough to echo throughout the entire area. Fed up with her, I went to turn around and saw her glaring at me with her hands on her hips.
お兄なんて携帯の電磁波の影響で脳みそスカスカにされて死んじゃえ。
I agree with you. Shit! Thanks to Nanami's screeching, more eyes were looking our way. Even though I made it a point to stand out as little as possible at school. My sister was the most obnoxious shithead of all time. Maybe if you weren't a shithead to your little sister, she wouldn't be obnoxious! Not giving a damn about what Nanami had said, I ran off toward the school gate. It was best to retreat in times like this. Nanami's voice could still be heard even after I passed through the school gate, making me feel completely and utterly drained. You deserve the shame! Higashi Matasema was one of my favorite artists. Higashi Matasema. Huh. They were ultra famous, and their fans would always form long lines at every one of their events. I'd heard that the new Bloodtoon doujinshi that had come out this summer had sold out in no time flat. I've been meaning to ask about that, because I always see, like, the weird, like, I always hear and see weird things that are implying things about Japan. Do they really have stores that sell doujin? Like, not officially licensed manga, and they actually just straight up sell doujins? I'm legitimately curious about that, if that's actually a real thing. I wanted to go too, but all the events where it was being sold at had been way too crowded, to the point where it would have been too much for me. Because of that, I'd found myself tearfully giving up. It had been naive of me to think manga darake would be safe just because they had had consignment sales. There had indeed been some consignment sales, but they'd been annihilated in practically an instant. On various online auctions, the premium price was set at tens of thousands of yen. All scalpers should die in a fire. Fucking agreed! Every last one of them! A derogatory term used to refer to people who acquire difficult-to-find products only to sell them at a higher price in online auctions. Known for wasting people's time. I added that little bit there. I'm sorry. Scalpers are just... Hey, everybody in the comments, do we all agree with Takumi on this one line here that scalpers should die in a fire? I 100% agree! Regardless, with all that in mind, I thought that it was probably impossible to get my hands on it. However, just yesterday while I'd been surfing at Channel, I just so happened to see that the new issue had been recently restocked at Manga Darake. Which is why I'd headed for it immediately. For real, I fucking hate scalpers. Waited 2 years to get my PS5 and... the only game I ever play on it is, well... the only PS5 game I own on it is Demon's Souls.
神様、奇跡を起こしたまえ。
I mean, it does make my other PS4 games actually run a million times better. So there's a positive. I prayed to the heavens in front of the store, and then I stormed inside. I scanned the doujinshi section with my eyes as wide as dinner plates. I went back and forth down the aisle, searching over and over again to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I couldn't find it. No, was it already sold out? I casually observed the cashier. It was a girl. She wasn't very cute, but she did seem friendly. I had never even once used the hyper-advanced technique known as asking the clerk about whether or not they had a certain item in stock. It is a hyper-advanced technique. You have to be like level 50 introvert in order to unlock that. The reason was, of course, that I didn't have the courage to do so. Extroverts get that at level 1. It's their starting skill. And not only that, but the title of Higashi Matasema's new book was Seiratan, Cosplayer Gone Wild, so... yeah, asking about it was completely and utterly impossible. Excuse me, miss, do you have a copy of Higashi Matasema's Seiratan, Cosplayer Gone Wild? If I asked a female clerk something like that, I'd no doubt be labeled as a pervert, and I knew that for a fact, thank you very much. At least you're self-aware? I don't know how to fucking what the fuck? Okay. In the end, I simply gave up on asking the clerk anything and exited the store dejectedly.
Kaeru ka.
Or maybe I should go to At Cafe. Flipping between the two as I walked, a sword I had seen before flashed past the edge of my vision. It was a sword with a distinctive two-pronged blade, the one that girl B, the girl who'd called herself Senna, had been carrying around the city. In the crowded center guide, the tip of the sword jutted above the heads of people walking down the street. Uh-oh. As it got closer to me, I hurriedly took refuge in a nearby arcade. When I peered up from the shadows, it didn't take long for Senna herself to appear, the sword resting on her shoulder. Hi! Wearing an expression that was just as terrifying as ever, she walked quickly toward the station. She didn't seem to have noticed me. But even then, after having experienced the humiliation play that was lugging around a sword just like hers, the bold way that Senna walked around without a care in the world impressed me. Was she not embarrassed to hold this huge sword like that? I mean, she had to have been questioned by a police officer at least once. No way she hadn't! As I pondered that, Senna's figure got farther and farther away. Where do they sell badass D-swords like the one she has? I wondered. The one I'd gotten a hold of didn't glow, nor did it have a badass shape, so I wasn't exactly satisfied with it. In comparison to the sword Senna was carrying, mine was far less impressive in terms of design. The entire reason behind me getting a D-sword was to use it as a protective charm. Back at the Scramble Crossing, I'd been trembling in fear and wished for something I could rely on. After Rimi had shown up, I'd become slightly more stable, but the situation surrounding me was not getting any better. I still had a lot of enemies, such as Shogun, Yua, etc. That was the reason why I wanted to get my hands on a D-sword that looked way stronger than the one I actually had. Of course, there was also the collector's spirit found in every otaku. As if drawn to Senna's sword, I'd been staggering over towards Scramble Crossing without realizing it. Oh god, I bit my lip. I didn't want to be out here in the middle of front of the station. I would reluctantly go to Center Guy, or school, or whatever, because I had things I had to do there, but if I couldn't help it, I preferred not going anywhere near them. Having a crowd of total strangers standing around me feel as if any escape route had been stolen away, and just the illusion of that made it hard to breathe. Unsurprisingly, the area in front of the station was infested with people. I was starting to feel more and more sick, so I opted to look down at the ground to try to hold back the nausea a bit. Because of that, the next time I looked up, I realized I'd lost sight of the conspicuous sword. I'm right behind you. Ah! It had looked like she'd been walking toward the Hachiko statue, but... Right then, the light above Scramble Crossing turned green. A sea of people rushed into the intersection from various directions. It became pretty chaotic. A whole host of people walking every which way, and they did it all without even so much as bumping into each other. When I saw something like that, I realized how unrealistic the empty scramble crossing I'd seen in my delusion the other day really was. There probably wasn't even a single second in the entire year where there were no people in this place. What was I even trying to accomplish by chasing after Senna in the first place? I hadn't even been able to ask the friendly Manga Darake employee whether they'd had something in stock, so how exactly was I supposed to talk to someone who looked unfriendly and scary looking like Senna? Besides, she might have been my enemy. I didn't know what she'd do to me if I carelessly followed her around without any form of protection. What was wrong with me? I should just go home. I finally decided on that, but right when I was about to turn around... What? Hello? I noticed a white chain lying down on the street. I couldn't see the end of it because it was concealed by the legs of various pedestrians, but it seemed to be stretching from where I was standing all the way to the other side of Scramble Crossing. What the hell? It was a ridiculously long chain. Was it for construction or something? But there was no evidence of construction going on anywhere. I couldn't believe they left a chain lying around like this. Was this a location they were shooting at for some movie or TV show? No, they wouldn't be filming at a time like as crowded as this. Okay, then did someone throw it away? A chain this long? It'd already be hard enough to just bring it this far out here. Well, let's follow it. Regardless, it was definitely going to get in the way of people and cars. Tilting my head in confusion, I examined my surroundings to see how people around me were reacting to it. I thought it would be dangerous if somebody caught their leg on it, but not a single person was paying any attention to it. I rubbed my eyes and tried looking at it one more time, thinking that it might be an optical illusion or something, but the chain was still there. I didn't have the courage to touch it, though. It creeped me out too much. It wasn't a cheap-looking plastic one. It was an extremely sturdy-looking iron chain. How long had this thing been left sitting here? If these were normal circumstances, I think it was some kind of trap. After which, I would have run away in fear, suspecting that something terrifying might have been waiting for me. But now, for whatever reason, I couldn't help but wonder where the chain led. My mind was overtaken by a compulsive obsession that told me I had to follow this chain. I crossed the Scramble Crossing before the light turned red, bumping into several pedestrians as I did. At the end of the continuous chain was an old dark green train car that was sitting next to the Hachiko statue. The wheels had been removed, so it was closer to a monument or an exhibit rather than a functional train car. You're supposed to be able to enter it freely. The white chain was extending from the open door to the inside of the train. There were tons of people parked in front of the Hachiko, but not one was paying any attention to the chain. They didn't show any signs that they were even aware of it. As well as that, there were no signs of any people on the train at all. With a gulp, I peered inside the train car. Ah, fuck. In that moment, I realized it was a trap. Ah, fuck. Hi, Senna. I couldn't believe myself, which is why I hadn't suspected it at all before. The car appeared to be empty, but there was the figure of a single person inside. Aoi Senna was sitting cross-legged on a burgundy train seat. Her sharp gaze was fixed firmly on me. For some reason, she was holding a light blue popsicle in her hand. That was a Crunchy-kun, right? Oh, forget it. I couldn't care less about Crunchy-kuns right now. More importantly, the gigantic D-sword she'd been carrying was mysteriously nowhere to be found. I wonder where she'd even managed to put the thing with how huge it was and all. As she hid in her hair. I don't even have to know what'll happen if I hit green on this. Chain. Female here. That just screams dominatrix shit that's about to happen. In place of the sword was a white chain coiling around one of her legs, which reminded me that back when I'd first met her in Center Guy, she had said something about finding her in a train car in front of the station. This must have been what she'd meant. Was she the one who'd put this chain here? Could she really have been lugging around such a long chain? It looked like it weighed over 10 kilograms. And not only that, but it had to have been over 50 meters long. I'm a filthy American. I have to adjust that. I had no idea what was up with this girl. She was entirely unknown to me. She wasn't normal. Could she be Shogun? Feeling scared now, I moved to run away without saying anything. Only for a sharp voice to strike me right then.
Hide.
Oh, fuck. I automatically stopped dead in my tracks. A blatant commanding tone, one that acted as if the train belonged to them. Of course, I had no intention of going inside. I didn't know who she was. I was scared of her, and I was awful at talking to 3D women when alone with them. I didn't want anything to do with her.
入れと言っている。
Senna's attitude told me I wasn't allowed to talk back. She hadn't moved a muscle, but I didn't know what she'd do if I showed even the slightest hint of trying to escape. Maybe she was actually a DQN, one that would beat someone up without hesitation. Talk about scary. But if I showed her even the slightest hint of submissiveness, she'd walk all over me. I'd had to deal with DQN several times up until now. Whenever that happened, the best thing to do was just run away. It didn't matter if you obeyed them or not, you'd get hurt after they were done with you no matter what you did. So the best option was just to run away. Let's see if I could find an opening. Suddenly, something from behind pushed me hard. Caught off guard, I was unable to brace my legs and I toppled clumsily to the ground. Stunned, I looked back toward the entrance to see who the hell had pushed me. There were a lot of people outside the train waiting around for appointments and whatnot, but I couldn't pinpoint which one of them was the culprit. Maybe they'd already run away. Why'd they felt the need to shove me? Why would someone do something like that? I must have hit my knee when I'd fallen down, as it hurt a little bit. Avoiding eye contact with Senna, I staggered back to my feet. I suddenly realized the bundle of chain that had been at Senna's feet just a moment ago had disappeared without a trace. I thought that she'd moved it somewhere, but there had been no sound to indicate that, and she was still sitting on the same seat she'd been sitting on the entire time. Even if she had moved it, where the hell has she moved it to? I didn't see anyone on the train.
エラーはどこにあった？
Where was the error? Huh? Senna, completely unconcerned with how lost I was, asked me something unintelligible yet again.
だから私をつけてきたんじゃないのか？
I just followed the chain! As I shook my head left and right in confusion, Senna's expression became increasingly stern. She then eventually looked away from me, let out a small sigh, then took a bite of her popsicle. Freed from her sharp gaze, I nearly sank down to the floor once again. Talk about looks that could kill. I would have sat down on one of the seats if I could have, but when I realized that she might have said something to me if I did, I couldn't bring myself to.
お前が私をつけてきているのには気づいていた。
You were following me!
私が作ったエラーが見えていただろう。
The error you created? You mean the sword?
だからエラーって何？
鎖だ。白い鎖。
The white chain is the error? What? If that was what she meant, then yeah, I'd seen it. I'd followed the weird thing all the way here, after all.
でもどこにもない。消えたよ。
消した。私の妄想だからな。
What? It was your delusion? Huh? Delusion? What was she talking about?
じゃあ剣は
お前も持っているだろう。
One I got at a store. Excuse me? No, I don't have one. How could I? This wasn't going well. I could barely get a word out.
それよりお前は何者なんだ。
Huh?
見えているみたいだけど。
は
Senna glanced at me, then jerked her chin toward the window.
この窓の外に何が見える？
People? People? Lots of people? It felt like there were even more people than before. I felt like I was going to get a headache just from looking at them. There were people with their heads glued to their cell phones, people smiling over phone calls, people standing and staring at the stream of people. Practically everything I saw at the window was people standing around waiting for other people. I mean, if there were so many people here, why didn't anyone come into the train since I'd gotten on?
完璧な世界がそこにあると思うか？
No. Wait, what? Oh, you're referring to this novel, right? A Perfect World. No.
あるはずがない。エラーは確かに存在する。
Errors will always exist?
すべてのものは人も含めて電気仕掛けだからな。
I beg your pardon? Maybe it's because I'm potentially sleep deprived, but I'm sorry. What? Because everything people included is an electronic device. Girl, did the edibles just kick in? What kind of chuny plotline was that? Jokes aside, I also thought about similar things pretty often. And I wasn't even trying to say that chuny plotlines were bad or anything. After all, the world was overflowing with books, movies, and anime that were nothing but chuny insanity. Why was it that a writer or movie director or whoever else could come up with chuny plotlines like that and it was all well and good, but when amateurs like me did it, everyone made fun of us? The world's greats had all been chuny buyois. Just think about it. The Wright brothers had genuinely thought that they could fly through the sky 100 years ago. Napoleon had boasted that the word impossible is not in my dictionary. Yeah, but Napoleon, I'm pretty sure it isn't Napoleon that guy that got his ass kicked a lot. That was why chuny buyois weren't something to be mocked. It was the path that all the world's greats had taken. But my question was, why did this girl suddenly start spouting all this chuny shit at me?
何を見ているかじゃない。何を見せられているか。
It isn't what you're seeing, it's what's being shown to you.
人は体の外からの情報を五感によって得ているけど、その受け取る情報のおよそ 80% は視覚から入ってくるんだ。そして視覚から得られた映像はパルス信号となって視神経を通り脳に送られる。
Just like a telephone, I thought to myself absentmindedly. A telephone converted your voice into electrical signals and then sent that information to a distant location.
電話か。似ていると言えなくもない。
What? I didn't even say anything! You read my mind! Had you just read my mind? No, there was no way! Had I been mumbling to myself without realizing it again?
VR 技術を知っているか？
Oh my god, VR. Yeah, it gives me a headache. I tried, God, what the hell it is. I actually have a VR headset. I only used it one time. And I did VR chat with a couple friends. That was difficult. What? Virtual reality? Of course, I didn't actually answer out loud.
ビジュアルリビルディング
Visual rebuilding? Huh? I was wrong. I'd never heard of that.
アメリカの精神生理学分野で研究が行われている技術だ
It's a technology currently being researched in the field of psychophysiology.
生まれながらに目が不自由な人でも目の前にある景色がちゃんと見えるようになるビデオカメラのような映像機器を介してな
I don't believe you.
どうやってという顔をしているなだが仕組みとしては単純な話だ
If they had that sort of technology, I'd be giving it to freaking people that are blind.
ビデオカメラが映した映像も脳を流れる神経パルスもどちらも突き詰めれば電気による信号なんだぞ
I mean, yeah? An electrical signal or stimulus that travels through the nerve cells of an organism has the ability to quickly transmit information between tissues. Right.
要は神経パルスにコンバートできる技術さえあればいいすでに実際にテストは成功しているある研究チームが特許を取得済みだ
I don't believe you. It was patented? Seriously? I thought that it was just a fairly hardcore delusion with an impressive amount of depth and detail behind it, but claiming there was a full-on patent was taking it way too far.
その特許から読み取れることがある
Senna, who'd been looking out the window the whole time, turned to face me. She slowly crossed her legs.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら人の五感すべてさらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか
You can't really do that, and well, not unless you have Kyokasui Getsu, but that only controls the 5 senses. Even though it was right in front of Shibuya Station, it was strangely quiet on the train. It felt as if it had been deprived of sound itself. It was obviously an illusion, but I couldn't help but remember the delusion I'd had several days ago of the deserted Shibuya. As I thought about it, I couldn't take my eyes off of the crowd moving outside the window.
さっき言ったように人は電気磁石だ
I mean, now that you kind of gave a better explanation, I think I understand what you're getting at.
脳だけじゃなく全身に張り巡らされている神経にも電気が通っているつまり肉体的な動きまでも操れるということになるんだ理論的にはな
Theoretically, this girl, I was taken aback. This girl was even more delusional than both me and you combined. What was she saying? What she was saying sounded logical, but it was clearly a total pipe dream.
事実特許を取得した研究チームもその方向へと研究内容をシフトしている
Oh, and to mind control?
あまりに危険すぎる内容だったからアメリカ大統領が歯止めをかけようとして行政命令を出したくらいだ
How much of what she was saying was actually true?
いかなる機関であろうと政府との事前合意なしに人体の機密の研究を行うことを禁じるそれを支援することも同様であるとな
The common rule? A United States policy clearly defining and regulating research involving human subjects. Instated in 1981, the full title is the Federal Policy for the Protection of Human Subjects. The policy states that all institutions performing experimentation involving human subjects must abide by a specific set of rules, such as obtaining informed consent, properly recorded findings, and complying with authority, be it a federal department, agency, or institutional review board. In later subparts, additional protections are provided for pregnant women, children, fetuses, and prisoners. Huh. Senna looked downward and clasped her knees, resting on I'm sorry, clasped her hands resting on her knees tightly.
だが世の中は腐った連中ばかりだ。
Got that right.
倫理を無視して自分の利益のためだけに他者を平気で犠牲にするような連中がな。
Yep. And that's not even fictional. That's just straight up true.
ヘドが出る。
Same here, sister. Same here. After she finished voicing her disgust, she stuck the last chunk of the nearly melted crunchy coon in her mouth, then suddenly stood up. I reflexively started to shrink back, only to run into the wall behind me.
無知は罪だ。知らない方が幸せなこともあるという人間もいるが、そんなのはただの甘えだ。
A little.
世界を疑え。仕組みを知れ。
In the context of a visual novel, you're making sense, but IRL, you would be a nut job.
この世界は完璧じゃない。
Except for that part, you are correct. She was coming toward me. Thinking she might hit me, I tried to shield my face with my arm, but in the end, she slipped right past me without doing anything.
お前の見ている景色は本物か？
Without looking at me, she murmured that as we passed each other, and then she promptly exited the train by herself. I stared out the window at Senna as she walked away. Without looking back at me even once, she quickly disappeared into the sea of people. In the end, I had absolutely no clue what the hell just happened. Hold up. That was weird. Without doing, the scenery, your eyes. Okay. Without looking at me, she remembered that she was passionate. And then she promptly exited the train by herself. I stared out the window. She disappeared. In the end, I had absolutely no clue as to what she'd been trying to tell me. The only thing I took from it was that Senna despised the world. Typical Chunibuyo. From my point of view, though, it sucked ass to have her shoot her poisonous Denpa bullshit at me without even letting me get a word in. Her tone of voice alone made me feel like I was being lectured. The way she talked was often a moe characteristic when it came to 2D, but in reality it only served to make her feel even more like a total DQN. But the fact that she hadn't attacked me was a relief. A surprise considering that for some reason she'd always gave off the aura that she was just raring to slap anyone and everyone. I wanted to take a breather after that, so I sat down on the seat where Senna had been sitting before. Immediately following that, a DQN-looking couple suddenly came into the car. After that came a trio of people that were obviously DQN Kogyarus, then an older, middle-aged man, and then a young businessman wearing a suit. Kogyarus. What is that? Oh, it's Gyaru. A Japanese fashion subculture that seeks to rebel against traditional standards of beauty. Oh, good for them. Often associated with delinquency, Gyarus and their many subgroups explore a fashion that is not necessarily considered normal in the eyes of society. For example, Gonguro involves bleached hair, extreme tanning, and an extensive use of makeup. Oh. There are also less extreme types such as Kogyarus, which simply involve wearing school uniforms with very short skirts. Oh, so like typical anime shenanigans? The train car had become claustrophobic in the blink of an eye. Before Senna had left, no one had even tried to enter the car, so where the hell did they all come from? The voices of the DQN people and the Kogyarus were way too loud, so I quickly got out of there while telling them all to go to hell in my head. Well, okay. So, we got to meet Senna again, and this time we learned that apparently Takumi's not the only one that has delusions. And now, starting to think that from the way that she's wording things, it's almost like delusions legitimately have an effect on the actual reality of what's going on. If multiple people have these delusions, I'm just kind of wondering, like, how is this... I'm just kind of like wondering, how is this going to Fuck, I just don't know. This novel is hard to figure out. You know what? Maybe it's because I'm stupid. I'm trying to get these pieces together. We know the government's doing something, and it seems like Senna is aware of that. From her discussion about how the five senses, with the five senses and the potential to controlling people, I mean, theoretically, the stuff that she did say kind of made sense. I mean, our bodies are kind of run through electrical impulses, in a way. Huh. I kind of want to look up that common rule shtick, see if that's actually a real thing that the United States actually did. Anyway, that's gonna be it from me. I'm gonna keep saying this novel's fucking weird.